Hey, welcome to the Bluejay Banter postgame show. Live here from Let It Fly. Let me get some echo again. Back, if you can check on that. There we go. Tim Kruger along with Ross Ferrarini. Ross, what's up?
Just watching some of these late games here.
Everybody's really cheery right now on Let It Fly. Everybody's really happy. Me, you, Mac, everybody's happy.
That's all right. It's Wednesday.
Ross won't talk to me. It's not good. It's not good.
No, it's Wednesday. We need some things to shake our way here in some of these late night games. Let's just say that.
Well, there's not very more late night. Oh, okay, I gotcha. Some NBA action.
Yeah.
Is that what you got going on?
Yep.
All right, I gotcha. Hey, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us. You've joined us all year long. We really appreciate it. If you're joining on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe and like button. It helps us out a lot. Also, a feature we started this year has been very popular, that chat feature down below. Chat in your questions, your comments. We will answer them all for you. I want to thank our hosts, our title sponsor, Care Miners Home Health Care, and also our other sponsors, Equitable Bank. We take banking personally, and Godfather's Pizza Pie Piled High. We will talk more about them later. The Jays go down in overtime. I've been here the last three games. I've been watching it let it fly. Two of them have gone overtime. That's not good.
Yeah, a lot of close games. I can't remember this many kind of, jumbled together of like really, really tight one possession games for basically the entire last 10 minutes.
We could take 2 points. We would have won the last two. That's how close the games are.
Yeah. Yep.
It's crazy.
Part of me thought, the Butler loss, like, well, okay, you could argue we stole one at Seton Hall, so all right, throughout the course of the season, maybe then that evens out. Thought we were going to steal one again tonight. I think I heard John say on the radio, Oduro and Devin Carter, I think, had 60 of their 91 points. Their team is, without Bryce Hopkins anymore, their team is, they don't have much in the way of anything besides those two guys. And they're both really good, and they both made a lot of plays tonight.
If Carter's not first team All Big East, there's something.
Oh, he's easily first team in my opinion. Obviously, a lot of those things depend on how the team finishes.
Because they're not going to finish high enough, but he could be MVP. Seriously, think of what they would be like without him. They would. You saw when he went out with injury. We kind of had.
I'm trying to think who the front runner for MVP would be right now. It might even. You could maybe make a case it could be Cam Spencer to this point.
Caravan.
Or Tristan Newton.
I would go Caravan. To me, although when he's been
Tristan Newton has
been out of the lineup, they haven't missed a beat either.
I think Tristan Newton has the best stats of those three, but I don't know how you wouldn't put anyone on UConn at this point, but it's a moot point.
Somebody from UConn's going to win it.
Disappointing loss on our end. I continue, positives to take away, I continue to be just very impressed with Stephen Ashworth's growth. He has kept us in countless games here and made big plays the last number of games. Obviously, he was not immune to turnovers tonight. I thought the whole team obviously had some issues with turnovers. But
they're killing us all year long.
He and Baylor Shireman have been kind of godsends for this team offensively, in my opinion.
Who Baylor and
Steven?
Yeah, Steven was having a slow night, got hampered with foul trouble, and then the second half he went off hitting threes. And look, I tweeted this out, and some people responded, like 28 people responded to it. I get the Big East wants physical play, and this year has been the most physical of any year we've been in the Big East. But it's not football, people. Somebody is going to get hurt out there if they don't start taking control of these games.
I'm a little confused that our bench didn't really react to Stevens' runner when he got ran over. I was really confused.
Just got crushed.
I was really confused why our bench didn't react as if that was a foul.
Speaking of football, if that had been in the NFL, that would have been roughing the quarterback. Because the guy hit him in the face. That would have been roughing the quarterback.
They also missed the foul. They intentionally tried to foul him before he even got to that point.
Yes.
Now, if you're a Providence fan, you're going to argue, well, we fouled them on the lob at the very end, on the sideline, about whatever.
Okay, but that was like half as egregious as the other one.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Disappointing.
Ashworth probably got fouled on that three he hit at the end too. the game was over with at that point. But that's another call. You know, I don't get it. They were just jamming him all night long. And then Kalkbrenner sets a pick, a hard pick, but he was there.
Yeah, I rewatched it. It kind of seemed like maybe he had his hands a little too high. Like if you go back and watch the replay, his hands kind of look like they were here, and maybe I don't know.
A normal game, I'd say that's a foul 99 times out of 100. But in tonight's game, there was a lot of guys hitting the deck and no calls.
Yeah.
So, you know, you just got, if you're going to call it, and that's what's hard. When you don't start calling it a little tighter, then you lose all consistency. Because then at that point, you don't know what is a foul and what isn't a foul.
Then it becomes the end of the Seton Hall game where it's just complete chaos.
Yeah.
And, up is down and down is up.
Yeah, exactly. I'm all for letting them play. There's nothing worse than seeing, 58 fouls in a game. But you've got to start reining in some of that on those screens when guys go over the guy's back as he's dribbling and they don't call it.
Yep.
I mean, that's affecting the guy. Trey got affected on shots many times tonight.
I'm going to be honest, like looking at the announcers on Fox were a little bit obnoxious in this fact. I don't know if you could hear it here, but was it really that obvious that it was a 2 by Baylor? I didn't think it was so obvious to the point where they were making it seem like it was.
Has a thing against Creighton. I don't get it. I don't get it. But but I mean, I could even see from the poorest angle that it looked to me like the toe was on the line.
Yeah,
I
probably.
thought in real time, I was like, "Oh, did he get his foot back?" It just didn't seem like he was back far enough. But whatever, that didn't really matter in the end, right? I mean, it was kind of a momentum switch because we were only up 2 instead of 3. But
yeah,
we lost by 4, and we kind of got pushed around there at the end. I used this term earlier. I mean, I think mentally we're pretty tough because, again, tonight we came from an 8-point deficit in a raucous crowd to take the lead.
Yeah, okay? I agree.
I think we're very mentally tough. I just don't think we're very physically tough. I think we're kind of soft. I mean, how many times when they flashed up with about 5 minutes to go, Providence had outscored us in the paint. This is Providence now that is missing Bryce Hopkins, 38-18. That should never happen. I get we shoot a lot of threes. I get that. But look at the number of possessions where we had the ball in the paint just as much as they did, and they doubled our amount of points.
Yeah, I mean, Odoro had a career night. He's a good player. I'll be stunned if he has another night like that tonight, but he got to his spots. He really, I mean, he's a big, strong kid. I mean, he's got a very similar build, wouldn't you say, to an Eric Dixon? Kind of that stocky, strong. Eric Dixon might be a couple inches taller than him, but
Dixon's a little bit bigger than him too.
Oh, I mean, Odoro is a big kid, big, strong kid.
I'm just saying Dixon is. I would say he's kind of a crossbred between an Eric Dixon and I'm trying to think of a good guy to.
You can't tell me he's a cross and you don't have the second guy.
Well, I'm trying to think of a player. I know the body type, but he's more like the guy at Iguodaro at Marquette. I think he's a cross. If you took Eric Dixon and him and crossed them, he's more of a player like that because he does have more of a.
But a lesser player than
Dixon's more of a plotter, should I say, than more of a guy who's going to knock people over. Than him has some footwork. Quickness.
He reminded me of a little bit was last year Nebraska Derek Walker. Has some of his type of game. He really he's strong and he kind of got downhill on Kalk a little bit. And he put Kalk in kind of a bad position where, he's basically got Kalk's chest, where he needs to be on his shoulder, and he's a big, strong guy, and so he can finish, he can kind of finish over him, and he got to his spots. I thought he made a couple of really tough ones on Kalk too.
Sure, he did. He made one. He kind of threw it up there and it went in.
Right.
Do you think Kalk, and this has been a point of contention with a lot of fans, he just seems slow off the jump this year versus last year? Like that last 2, I think, Darryl made last year. It seemed like Kalk would have blocked that. He was just slow off getting off his feet to block it.
I think there's some of that with Kalk this year. Yeah, I feel like I've noticed maybe less explosiveness a little bit. I don't know if that's accurate or not. It's something I've kind of noticed watching games. Obviously, I thought Kalk was huge kind of down the stretch. He had a couple of massive and ones finishing through contacts that were big for us. I think ultimately, Kalk's playing a lot of minutes. I don't know compared to last year. I would guess he's playing more minutes compared to last year.
No doubt. No doubt.
Just off my naked eye, but
no doubt.
So maybe that's something. Maybe there's something to that.
Maybe.
I quite honestly, I'm really interested to see, if there's anything to maybe, getting some more minutes for Jason Green and spelling, if possible, if we can go with a small ball lineup, and spelling Kalk for a little bit.
Here's what they've been working on in practice is playing Trout at the 5, and you saw that tonight. The one below Kalk, he was at the 5. So they're starting to go with that route, maybe a taller Ethan Rocky, if you will, and they went to it when they pulled Odero out of the game and went with their backup, who's a little more mobile, which I thought was a good move. Because at that point, we were kind of – Ashworth had 2 fouls, so he was on the bench. We were kind of making some headway with Farabello out there and Trey handling the ball. But Jason came in tonight and did something he hasn't done this year so far, and that's just aggressively offensive rebounding. And again – you can talk all what you want about boxing out. It's 80% of it's just wanting that ball more than the other player. And he did that tonight.
Well, and you say he hasn't really done it all year, and you would be right, but Jason, he doesn't really get consistent minutes to show it.
When he's been in there, he hasn't looked. When he's been in there in meaningful minutes, not at the end of games, at meaningful minutes, he hasn't looked the best.
I agree.
And I keep telling people, keep asking, I keep saying, well, when you see him in practice, it's about the same thing. Some good days, some bad days, But like I think Donnie Marshall said, if you keep doing that, you're gonna get some playing time.
Well, he's certainly got one thing I think this team misses a little bit is we've talked about it before is I think maybe the body type and the strength and athleticism of an Arthur Kaluma. For all of the kind of maddening things Art did offensively, he certainly gave us some really, really big things on the glass defensively. And I thought, you look at Jason, he's got a very similar type of build. And you look at a couple, those 2 rebounds and putbacks he had in the first half, and you think, whoa, that's something that this team could certainly use. Every team could use, a guy like that to be physical and rebound the basketball.
Now, Fred King's out.
I would agree.
It seems like Mason Miller has lost favor as well. He doesn't seem to be getting near the minutes he used to be. And they're
especially in the second half.
Basically with Farabello.
Yeah. Fred, I'm not 100% sure what's going on there. He is, you're right. He's completely out of the lineup now.
I don't blame Mac.
I agree.
Hasn't given us good minutes.
I agree.
And the problem with Jason is he came in and got those rebounds, but then he went down the other and just gave up an easy basket. Because he's not there defensively yet. And Mason, I don't know if it's obviously it's defensive end, but there was a time tonight when he didn't flash the high post when he was supposed to, and Mac is screaming at him to do that, and then he did, and then he had a wide open free throw, and then he didn't know what to do with the ball, and then he just looks out of sorts out there. He immediately jumped out to the 3-point line with the ball, and it's like he's a good shooter, man. Like He seems to me he's lost his confidence he had early shooting the basketball, and now that's spread through his whole game.
Yeah, maybe there's some of that. I mean, obviously he's an elite 3-point shooter. He's shown that to this point. So if he's, especially if his minutes have dwindled a little bit, and he's not shooting the ball as well, I think that's human nature. But this team, obviously this is an interesting stretch. I mean, they go to Xavier. Xavier's been really good at home. And I think you would probably agree with me that. Well, I say that as they lost 2 non-conference games to Delaware and Oakland at home. But since then they've been very, very good at home. They've been very good in Big East play. It's going to be a tough game Saturday, and this is one that if we could steal one Saturday, I think that would go a long way towards coming home. So
let's get some comments. And
I was just gonna say, what's this chat got for you?
I've got some more. Kind of a common theme tonight. Brennan said 2-time defensive player of the year, giving up 26 to Telford and then giving up 32 to Odero is worrying.
Okay, whoa. He's not guard. Jamal Telford's a wing.
Yeah, I know.
It's not.
I didn't understand that comment either.
Zero to do with Kalkbrenner.
Yeah, but at any rate,
Jamal Telford. Here's another one too. I understand. Like, I understand. I'm not making excuses. Like everybody is saying, we're giving up these career nights to some of these guys. Jamal Telford had a absolute career night against us. I mean, he could not miss. I mean, it was truly remarkable, some of the shot making that he had in that Butler game. But I digress. I mean, I guess my point is, like, sometimes you just have to, like, I know it's like impossible for us as fans to say, like, we just got to tip our cap. But Devin Carter tonight and Jamal Telford 5 nights ago or whatever, you just got to tip your cap sometimes. I'm sorry.
Carter do it 50 times. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Like and I think one thing too we forget too is Providence is probably going, Jesus God, does Ashworth ever miss? You know?
Right.
And they're probably saying the same thing about Baylor. My God, in the second half we couldn't stop that guy,
Right.
You know?
Right.
You're right. I don't really worry about guys going off for career nights. That never has bothered me in all my years watching basketball of my team. Like,
I agree.
It happens, and so it happens. So that guy got 30. Okay, that's not necessarily an indictment of your team. It could be, but not necessarily, because maybe you were taking so many other things away, and usually that's what Mac does.
Yeah, I'm with you. And a lot of times we're, especially if it's a wing, like a lot of times we're switching a lot of that stuff anyways. Guys you're running back in transition. You're just guarding. You don't exactly have an assignment in transition defense. You're kind of just pointing and talking and who's got to stop ball. So I'm with you.
Here's I think a decent comment. Another brand. There's 3 different Brandons in the chat here, so we're kind of getting crazy. He goes, when they let him play like the refs have, the offensive player initiates contact to call, kind of what you were saying. Off his footing, he doesn't guard as well because then he's so used to going straight up. So he gets, and what do they always say about a shot blocker? Go into him. Don't try and fade away.
Yeah.
And so that's what teams are doing.
Yep.
Another one says we're absolutely 1,000 missing those types of body types. I think he was talking when you were talking about Oduro.
Or when I was talking about Jason Green and Kaluma.
Well, I think also your comment about his body type as well.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing about Kalk because you see, like, a perfect example would be the end of the Seton Hall game when Kalk can just be, when he's just standing back there as a shot blocker, as like a wing is kind of coming downhill and is trying to float one past him. I mean, you saw it. I mean, he must have sent Kadari Richmond into the into the scores table 2 or 3 separate times late there in those overtimes. It's a little bit, like I said, it's a little bit different. We talked about, with the Josh Oduro or a Derek Walker at Nebraska last year, kind of, guys that are 6'9", 6'10", that are kind of getting their shoulder into him and into his chest and trying to finish through him that way.
Here's one I think has come up the last 5 years with Mac, okay? Boys looked gassed in the second half. Well, I don't know. We were up 2 at halftime, and it went to overtime, so I don't know that, played pretty even in the second half. They looked gassed. We were down 8 and came back, so I don't know how that would correlate. But at any rate, it's a typical comment we get a lot. Can we question staff for not putting in the bench more? I did ask Tyler, who would you put in? He goes, figure it out. You're a high-level D program that needs to have depth. Well, yeah, they have figured it out, Tyler. And the answer is, no, we're going to go with the guys we got out there because the guys on the bench aren't giving us anything. We just discussed some guys on the bench that aren't giving us anything. So you can't just put a guy in and go, like, you can't put a Fred King in here and go, okay, Kalk, you're going to take a 3-minute blow here. And while Fred's in there, we give up 10 points. With no chance of scoring on the other end. I mean, you can't allow yourself to do that, and Mac doesn't feel like he does. He's been criticized for that for whatever. Gosh, we just don't seem to have depth. We don't seem to have a bench. Every year we come into it going, wow, how are we going to get minutes for all these guys? And then it goes down to 6, maybe 7 guys. But he does that way all the time. That's the way he coaches. I think he'd probably like to have more bench if they were consistent, but he can't. It's not on the job training right now because the Big East is so deep.
Not only that, well, the last number of years, if that's been a criticism, we've had decent depth the past few years. This year is a little bit different. I would say this is probably the, just from a minute standpoint, the most obviously that the starters are playing. I'm trying to think back. I don't think there was a huge bench in the Ryan Hawkins, Alex O'Connell season 2 years ago. Right. But
look at last year with their injuries, or 2 years ago with their injuries.
Yeah,
they played 5-6 guys for months at a time. Never.
Yeah, that was the year with Hawkins and O'Connell.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah. So we came back in overtime and beat San Diego State and played Kansas down to the wire with that 6-guy rotation. So it's not like I always struggle with, they say, well, we looked gassed. Well, how do we know that resting any of these guys would have made anything better? That's what my point always is. Like, is there any kind of statistic or analysis that would show that? Tyler then came back at me and said, well, you made my point. Well, but when you go into a season expecting Fred King to do what he did last year, and maybe the beginning part of this year, and now he doesn't do it, you can blame that on coach, I guess. I guess it all comes down to Mac, right? It all comes down to him. But so he's making, at this point, his best option. Isaac, remember, is a freshman. We keep, thinking he's like a senior. He's a freshman. So he has some liabilities on defense against quicker guys. They're trying to work him in, like we talked about at the 5, to get more playing time there. Ashworth got in foul trouble, so we were limited that way. When Mason's not going to play well, and we're getting beat on the defensive end because he hasn't improved enough on that end, then we've got to go with the guys we're putting out there. That's just who he trusts, and Mac is. Let's see. All right. Then we got Ryan in talking to us from Nashville. Nice. We have no bench, or at least, and this is Mike, we have no bench, or at least seeing that wearing the starters out, encouraged by Ash's surge, seems so much more confident. No doubt about it. Playing his tail off on defense. He had to guard on switches. He had to guard Carter sometimes, and I thought he did, for the most part, pretty decent job. Said, I'm convinced Lawson wasn't the staff what he thought he was. That's, I think, a fan perception.
I don't know. I don't know enough about.
The staff always told me, he's going to be a project. They always said that. Like,
I haven't been to a practice. I have no. I'm really ill-informed on it. I have no idea.
Year, the fans want 12 guys who are all going to be first-team all-conference. Okay, there's just no team that has that, even UConn. Okay, so some guys are projects. Some guys are, going to come off the bench and play 3 minutes. Some guys are going to come off the bench and play 28 minutes. That's just the way it is. Right.
Well, yeah, I think it's, at the end of the day, are there teams that play more guys off the bench than us? Sure. Okay. That's fine. But like when I watch, a couple of the top teams, a few of the top teams in college basketball, okay, so if you want to call it right now, UConn and Purdue are the 2 top teams, okay? Yes, both of those teams have some depth. They've got some seriously high-level recruits that have been through their program, and they brought in some transfers, some high-level transfers that are playing and making an impact right away. Those teams have some bench. Now, there are some other teams that I would argue, maybe because they play more guys, it looks like they have a quote-unquote a deeper bench. But in my opinion, I would rather have Baylor Shireman play almost 40 minutes a game.
Yeah. So
or Trey Alexander play almost 40 minutes a game. Same with Steven. Like
to your point, the teams that are playing 9, 10, 11 deep are probably teams whose 5, 6, 7, 8 players are as good as their 1, 2, 3, 4s.
Well, my point. Like a St.
We have really good starters.
Like a St. John's would be a decent example.
Yes.
They have a bunch of like pretty good players.
Right,
So they play
exactly.
8 or 9. They play 8 or 9 of
Great
them.
example.
And they're all pretty good. They all can do some nice things.
But they're not great. They're not game
I wouldn't. Yeah, they're not. I don't think any of them are to the level that like a Baylor or a Trey are. So, it is what it is. Listen, like this is going to sound harsh, but these are 22-year-old kids and they're playing 30 games a season.
Yes.
This isn't.
I understand there might be a time or two where a 5-minute blow would have helped them in a game, but for the most part, these guys look to me. They still look pretty fresh out there. I mean, if you're gonna be tired, you aren't gonna hit the shots Baylor Shireman's hitting or get the rebounds he gets. You know what I mean? You just aren't.
I think Baylor might be the most complete player that we've had here in the MAC era since Doug.
I think that's a good statement. Yeah.
The only other one that would come to mind would be Kyrie Thomas.
He amazes me because he really comes up big in big moment, like in the second half where we needed somebody. He really came up big, Back to Tyler again, comes back at me again. It says it was highly sought after 4-star from Virginia. Well, he when he left Virginia, I don't think he went to transfer portal, and we picked him up pretty quickly. I don't think there was probably teams interested, obviously, but I don't think he was just like, people were knocking his doors down to come. Well, he was.
Could people say Isaac should be playing more? Okay, sure. I think they don't. I just think that the staff doesn't maybe feel comfortable with Isaac defensively right now,
right.
that they can put him out there for 15, 20 minutes a game.
That's why they're
obviously the shooting ability is there. Like that's no issue. They're fine with him, coming in and picking and popping and being a knockdown shooter. But he's got Isaac's got he's got a little ways to go defensively to earn really consistent minutes.
He did get some minutes in some games because of the matchup problem, and then he kind of regressed a little bit. But that's what freshmen do. They go back and forth. I guess, would you rather have a team like Memphis that has a bunch of, we just don't have athletes? Would you have a bunch of athletes like Memphis and lose like 6 games in a row to terrible competition? I mean, would you rather have that? I mean, I don't know. I'd rather have smart basketball players. We want to thank all our chats. We're going to get to more of them. That chat is sponsored by our title sponsor, CareMinders Home Health Care, right here in Omaha. When you're in need of care for injured, ill, or senior loved one, reach out to CareMinders. Their agency is comprised of certified caregivers who have many years of experience. You'll receive versatile, flexible, and customized care. And it'll give you peace of mind knowing that your loved one is getting the best possible care in their home. And oftentimes people, sons, daughters just don't have the capabilities of being able to give that terrific care to their loved one because obviously they've got a family and they've got a job and everything else. So go to caremindersnebraska.com, see everything they offer. And if you have more questions, by all means, give a call, 402-532-1383. Want to thank Jim and everybody over there at CareMinders for their incredible sponsorship. Let's see. Tyler says we had 6 contributors that year.
Tyler's active.
I don't know what year he's talking about. I guess, was that the injury year when everybody got injured? I don't know. I don't know what he's talking about. Here's a good one I want to get to. In reality, having 5 conference losses at this point is disappointing. I don't know how we have a 3 or 4 seed resume. Well, that Alabama seed was still looking pretty good.
Yeah, Alabama win's looking good. Yeah.
But forget that for a second. Let's talk Big East. We got to kind of step it up here or we're going to be playing Wednesday night.
I still think it's so early to be talking about that.
Well, I don't think so, us. I mean, you look at the
Well,
standings.
my point is, it's so jumbled right there.
And what I'm saying is, with two more losses in a row. We're not going to lose Georgetown, but two more losses, 2 out of the next 3. All of a sudden, we are down in the bottom 6.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
But, I mean, you could say that about literally teams 3 through 9.
I
So
get
that's
that.
what's.
I'm just saying. What I'm saying is, my point was not. Oh, let's all panic and start getting tickets for Wednesday night. My point is, we have to start picking up. These are tough games. I get that, but these are also games we got to win. The good teams win these games. We've had 2 now that we need to win, and we lost them. Brendan, number 3, says, I make it back about once a year. I'd be curious of how the fan base has changed in Omaha since Mac regarding the program has taken off. I feel spoiled compared to how it used to be.
Brandon, how much time you got?
Yeah.
We could talk about that for a while.
Yeah, I mean, I think overall, compared to what it was, say, 3-4 years ago, I think the fan base is really happy with Mac. You know what I mean in general?
Oh, is he talking? I thought he was just talking about in general. What about he was saying? What he was saying about Coach Mack?
Yeah, no, he said Mac. Well, maybe I misunderstood him. I'd be curious of how the fan base has changed in Omaha since Mac regarding how the program has taken off. I feel spoiled. So maybe he is talking about the program.
Yeah, I think he's just talking about since the Mac era and the Big East.
When you talk about the Mac, when you talk about the program in whole, it immediately goes to the head coach. That's where everybody starts, right? So for a while there, people were having some questions about, wow, we don't seem to be gaining traction. Da 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 da. Then that recruiting class came in, and all of a sudden things changed.
See, I feel like I haven't heard that. I feel like I haven't heard that sentiment in a long time.
Right.
I'm talking about 6, 7 years.
No.
I mean, it's already 2024. I mean,
everybody gave him that second year. Handed him that second year. Said okay. Then we had the Kenny Loss, Justin Patton injury. Okay, that year. Or not Justin.
No, I'm saying from 2019, 20 so the team that won the Big East, I mean, this program has been elite. We were supposed to finish 10th or whatever it was in the year. We ended up in the round of 32. Could have beaten Kansas.
That's what I'm talking about. When we lost to Kansas State that year, that's when people started, back's on the hot seat, da 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 da.
Oh,
I'm saying since then, there are still people that complain about. Don't get me wrong. There are.
Well, they're stupid.
Well, whatever. Let's see. Yeah, CJ Sand says Hawkins is on that list with Baylor and Kyrie since then.
No.
Ryan was here.
I mean, Ryan
had been here 4 years.
Ryan was a great shooter, and I think Ryan brought. I will say to whoever commented that Ryan brought more to the table than I think everybody would have expected. He was a good rebounder, but like Ryan couldn't handle the ball or playing pick and roll like Baylor can. You know what I mean? Baylor can do everything with the ball.
Ryan was only here such a short time.
Yeah.
That's different. And Kyrie was, I never said, wow, Kyrie's right there with Doug. I never thought.
No, if you wanted to say Ryan Hawkins was one of the most underrated players of the Mac era, I would agree with that. I would listen to that because he tends to get lost in the shuffle because he only played the 1 year.
Yeah. Baylor's been awesome and in great shape. Big East first team, Kalk seems like the only one who gets gassed. Yeah, maybe. We need to stop playing drop coverage. Every team has learned how to play against it. Kalk needs to be better. He let the average guy drop 30 on him this year.
Well, here's what my retort to that would be, because I've heard that from.
I knew you were coming.
Well, I've heard that from a few people as of late. I understand why they're saying it, and there's some validity to a guard coming off of a ball screen, and especially a talented one, getting into the middle of the paint, kind of getting to their spots, starting to get some confidence, all those sorts of things. But Kalk he does not have the lateral movement and the athleticism to really come out and play anything but drop coverage. I mean, I guess he could kind of, meet the defender, kind of right at the point of the screen. But then he's really making himself susceptible to blow-bys. Like the most elite pick-and-roll defender that this team has had, or that this program has had, was Christian Bishop. I mean, Christian could do everything. Christian was a 6'8", well, how tall was Christian? 6'9", probably?
7.
Was he that short?
Yeah.
Whatever he was, Christian was long. He was unbelievably athletic. He could play any pick-and-roll coverage you wanted him to.
Sure, he was great at it.
He was great at it. And we just don't have that luxury with Kalk.
Right.
So
but on the flip side of that, if he had to go up against a guy like Kalk, he got killed. He just did. He wasn't very good defending the low post against big guys.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That he was.
He's
awesome
giving up a lot of inches. Yeah.
Yeah, we were elite at the pick and roll. A guy bristled at our term elite. But what I think we're saying is.
What do you mean he bristled at elite towards what?
He's saying you only had 2 Elite 8s in program history. How can you call yourselves elite? What we're talking about is in the
past 5 years.
1920, we've been top 20 every year. At least
COVID canceled the tournament. That team was going to be a 2 seed. Okay. So then the COVID year happens. Weird year. We end up making the Sweet 16. Very next year happens. We're supposed to finish 10th in the league, 9th or 10th in the league preseason. Every single person had us there. 1 possession game with the eventual national champion with about 30 seconds to go in the round of 32. Very next year, Elite 8. This year, obviously, we've been ranked pretty highly. We'll see where it ends up, but I would say that's a pretty darn good stretch.
Yeah, and I would look. I know the 2 years are different this year and last year. Different team, first of all. But if you remember your comments almost exactly 1 year ago, we could have taken this and pasted it in there and been the same
thing.
Comments because everybody was panicking and we're going nowhere and blah, blah. Remember, people, we were a 6 seed last year. I think what everybody has to realize is after the Elite 8, we came into this year, everybody's like, oh, my God, we can make Final Four. Well, that mindset has to change. It's not going to happen. It could, but I'm just saying those expectations should not be there anymore. That's my point. Like we need to just take care of it, like get our best seed we can in the Big East tournament, and then move on from there. Right now, we're right at about the 5 or 6 seed level as far as overall NCAA, so that's no worse than last year. And coming into that, you got to remember, we were probably more like an 8-9 at one point, but we played our way into that 6 seed because of good play coming down the stretch. Mac has always had his teams ready the end of February and into March. And luckily for us, that's when we play UConn and Marquette. So maybe things will turn around.
So Seton Hall is 1 game ahead of us now. Okay.
Yep. So we're in 4th, right?
I was going to say, Seton Hall's got to go to Villanova Sunday. Then they play Xavier at home. Then they play at St. John's. Then they play Butler at home. Then they come to Creighton. Then in March, they go at UConn, Villanova at home. Then they end with DePaul. That's a win. But
they got a tough stretch.
I mean, that's not. Yeah, I mean, they can give up a lot of games in that stretch.
Sure. Oh yeah, I'm not handing 3rd place to them. I'm just saying right now we're in 4th. Are we tied in 4th or are we in 4th by ourselves?
I think we're tied. Tied with Xavier. 7 and 5.
So
St. John's, Providence, and Butler
Saturday
are 6
will be for
and
4th
6.
place then.
Yeah.
Or a tie could be tied for 3rd.
Yes. Well, after Sunday, because Seton Hall plays Sunday.
Yeah. Okay, after the weekend. So, wow, that's a big game. So then we dropped to 5. Then now we're really close to 6 if we lose Saturday. Just saying. But then we have Georgetown, so we get a win back. You know, I think to your point, that's the point you're trying to make is there's so much up and down. Another guy says, we got to get more hardware to be elite. Okay, whatever. You're not catching you're not getting our point.
People didn't like my word choice, elite.
One of the 8 Brandons on here says, have to win one of UConn Marquette at home. I'd probably agree with that to kind of solidify things.
That would help. Yeah.
Solidify our resume a little bit.
No doubt.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Ryan just had a comment. Ryan's been good on here tonight, though. Ryan had a comment. I don't know. This came kind of out of nowhere. Ryan Nemhard is struggling recently. You know, I don't know where that came from, but When Steven Ashworth hit those threes tonight, I thought of all the people that were bashing him back in November and December and early January. I mean, things are going to float to the mean, okay?
I actually have a couple of good friends that went to Gonzaga and are big Gonzaga basketball fans, and I can assure you their fan base is not terribly thrilled with Nembhard.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't watch their games and you look at his stats, you're like, wow, he's having a really good year. But, like I got into an argument with somebody, said, well, we're missing Nembhard. He was bashing Ashworth, and since then Ashworth has gone as a huge tear, and I go, pretty good for a non-D1 point guard. And then, my point to him was, Ryan, and I hate to lay this all on him, but he's obviously not making Gonzaga better. You know what I mean? Like they're having one of their worst years they've had in 20 years.
He's shot the ball very poorly for them this year. I don't think he's been like god awful by any stretch.
No, he's had some really good games. He scores a lot of points because he's so athletic. But
yeah, he hasn't shot the ball particularly well.
But if he was really making their team better, then Iki would be much better than he is. That would be my point. Not sitting there and watching every second of every Gonzaga game. That would be where I would go with that.
Ryan is stats. Yeah, 12.5 points, 3 rebounds, almost 6 assists. He was shooting about 20% from 3 for a while there. I'm kind of curious where he's at now.
That's a lot of the games I
He's
saw.
up to 29 from 3.
But
which is a pretty marked drop off from last year. He was 35 for us last year.
Yeah, and even then, he had a big burst to get there. The rebounding thing, 3 rebounds a game.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he got, with us, he got a lot of rebounds for his size. He'd come in and scoop up, the balls. So maybe that's not the way Gonzaga play. They may have a different coverage. Thanks for all those chats. We got a couple more, but let's get to another sponsor, and that's Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. They are the bank of Bluejay Banter, so check them out today. 2 great location, just in the Old Mill area, just south of the Schwab headquarters, and then their newest location is Pierce Street in Elkhorn. A very brand new cafe-style bank. You walk in, you don't even know where the teller is because the bank looks so new. It's such a cool layout, and while the service is off the charts, they really take care of you. So make sure if you're looking for a bank, check them out. That's Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. They take the headache away from banking, and they do answer the phone on the first ring, and we appreciate them and Doug and everybody over there being a sponsor. We hope Doug is on his way to hip. Doug had hip surgery on like a Wednesday and was at the DePaul game Saturday. What a trooper.
It's dedication.
What a trooper. Again, one of the Brandon says, sucks. I was happy Ashworth would have gotten his moment if Carter didn't hit that crazy 3. And I was like, yeah.
It's true.
That would have been everybody was talking about. Steven hitting that 3.
We wouldn't have talked about. I mean, if Carter hadn't hit, that 3 from the logo, we walk out there winning, we wouldn't have talked about 80% of the things we talked about tonight.
Not to pour water on it, but it was a strange move of Steven to leave him, even though he was away.
Well, he was trying to switch. He wanted to switch it to Trey, and Trey came.
I would have. See, what I thought we were going to do there was foul because we had fouls to give. I thought we would just foul them, and I think we did try to foul and call it. But
I'd have to go back and look at how much time was on the shot clock.
I don't think there was a lot. I think that's why he shot that one. I don't remember, right? Because then we got the ball with like 27 seconds left.
It wasn't, the shot clock wasn't at like 3, though. I mean, there was definitely more than that, I thought. But I'd have to go back and look.
But we were going to get the last shot no matter what, though, right, on that one? Let me check. Let me see. While we're answering more of these chats, I'll check and see if.
Did we do Unsung Hero?
If we got the thing. No, go ahead.
Jason Green. Easy.
I think that's a great one, Ross. That's a great one.
Worst call of the game. Sponsored by Godfather's Pizza.
Pizza pie piled high. Let me read that. Let me read the promo here, Ross, and then you can think about it. But I don't think we're gonna have to think about that one.
No, I know that one.
Go to Godfathers.com. It's Super Bowl weekend. I don't know if anybody's told you this. There's this big thing with Taylor Swift, I think, or something going on. I don't know. But go to Godfathers.com. You can order some pizza for Super Bowl. Check them out. They've got the taco pie. They've got the combo, my personal favorite. Feast to feed your whole family or everyone you have over to watch the big game. Abundantly topped pizzas with fresh mozzarella and all the toppings you want. They also have wings, cheese sticks, dessert, and more. Check them out. It's godfathers.com, or stop at your nearest location here in Omaha and pick up a pie today. It had to be the one with Ashworth getting clobbered.
Yeah.
I mean, I think refs call like the foul on the three-pointer way too much. I think a lot of times guys don't even get fouled and they just fall down and they automatically blow the whistle. He got, and that wasn't a three, but he got clobbered when the guy out came up. It just smashed into him. What was the ref looking at?
The ball was. I think people, like, if you're a Providence fan, or if you're like, one of these people who's a basketball purist and you think you know everything about every single rule, I can tell you what the response back would be. Well, the ball already left his hand. Okay.
Doesn't matter.
So he was already completed his shooting motion. I think that's what most people would say.
No, guys crash into guys on threes all the time. When the ball's left their hand, they call foul.
I'm just telling you that's what people would. That's what the response back would be.
Well, the reason, but it's not whether the ball left his hand or not, though. And I'm not arguing with you. I'm just arguing the point. It's not if the ball left his hand or not. It's was the offensive player hindered by what the defensive player is? Yes. Like, I can be right in your face, and you're trying to shoot, and I push you after the ball leaves. Well, that hindered your ability to get a clear look at the basket. You know what I mean? Like, there has to be some penalty for a guy flying out and running you over.
I'm with you. That was the worst one.
You've got to, I get the end of the game, you don't want to whistle, but, and you know what? Providence, those refs were veteran refs out there, and they know what that crowd's like, and they probably didn't want to face that wrath.
No doubt.
And there might have been a trail official was going to blow that, but then the whole place would have come down on him. So he's just going to let it go. Do you think, is that like in football, how in the NFL they send in 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 plays to the NFL and go, would you explain this to me, how this was? Does Mac have the ability to do that?
I think they do. I think they do.
I think John Cal at one time was director of Big East officials. I don't know if he still is, but
positive the full specifics on it, but I'm almost positive that they have talks with the head of officiating after games and say, listen, here's what we think. We think this was egregious, blah, 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 blah. I think.
Brandon, who only comes here once a year, goes, why did they kill the J? I just don't know.
It's a great question. And I actually talked about that with somebody recently because there's nothing there.
Yeah.
Like, it would be one thing. Wow. You know what they should have done? I mean, if you're going to kill off the J, which is an iconic venue for anything Creighton, Creighton alum.
Never went there. Never got to go.
That's really odd on your part.
Well, I wouldn't go to Creighton, so
I know, but
Creighton, I would have lived there. But
I'm saying, I didn't mean to say.
I wanted to go. I wanted to go, and then they shut it down.
Yeah. It was just a fun place for fans to gather post game of all comers, all ages. Yeah. There's nothing there. Like, you would have thought that the university would at least put student parking or something there.
Here's what I heard. I could be totally wrong. I didn't never go there, but I had heard that because of all the problems with underage drinking and everything else, it just became too much, and they just shut it down.
Maybe. Yeah. This just in, a lot of college bars have underage drinking.
Really? Shocking.
Not sure if anyone knew that.
Wow, what an active chat tonight. But you know what? Like we always said, we don't like it, but losing is good for business. A lot of people care, and that's good. What sucks is if you lose like that and there's no chats. Then people don't care. That's when you have a problem, sir.
Yeah.
That's when you're DePaul, and no one cares.
Yep.
Let's go to opponent preview again, sponsored by our title sponsor, Care Minders. I want to thank them for their tremendous sponsorship, and home care for injured, ill, or senior loved ones is something you probably don't think about until the need arises, and that's so true, and that's why you need to check them out now, so when the time arises, you can know who to call and why you should call Care Minders, So check them out today. Call them at 402-532-1383 or go to caremindersnebraska.com. They'll be happy to answer all your questions you have, and you will be set when the time comes because, hey, look, a lot of us have grandparents, parents that are going to need this care in not too distant future, and it's nice to know when that time comes what to do. So check it out today. Yeah, like you said, another tough one. Every time I watch them, I think, how is this team only, what are they now? They won tonight, so they are.
They're 12 or 13 and 10.
They are 13 and 10. But every time I watch them, I'm like, how did this team lose 10 games? Because they appear to have a lot of great young pieces, along with veterans like
Quincy Oliveri is probably their best guy.
Desmond Cloud. Oliveri just put up 43 the other night at DePaul.
Kind of an inconsistent team, to say the least. I mean, they just got the absolute brakes beaten off of them by UConn a few games ago. They bounced back. They beat St. John's, DePaul, and then Villanova last night by 3. So, obviously not 3 world beaters there. So they're certainly vulnerable. I mean, it's a tough place to win, though. I mean, it is. It's a great basketball arena. They packed that place. It's not gonna be an easy game.
Saturday game, and like you were saying earlier, you just rattled off the teams they've done, and I'd have to look at the whole schedule to answer this correctly, but I believe they've done very well against the middlings. Like, they're beating the teams around them. You just rattled off St. John's, Butler, Villanova. They're beating those teams.
Mm-hmm.
Who are the teams they're competing with for that 4, 5, 6, 7 spot.
Yep.
They're beating those teams. They lost to us, they lost to UConn, and so forth. I think they lost to Marquette as well. So, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, Seton Hall beat them early, I believe. Early in the conference season, I believe.
I don't remember.
But anyway, because Seton Hall kind of went on a run at the beginning. But at any rate, they're playing very well. And like you said, they play very well at home. And their inconsistency is probably more along the lines of their youth. However, I was watching that game tonight, and there was a timeout, and Sean Miller was in the huddle, and he's just like, that's what's going to be successful for us if we play the same every 4 minutes. We're playing great defense because we're playing it hard every possession. So he's really done a fantastic job with that.
No, he's a fantastic coach. Off topic, I'm just looking at the Saturday Big East slate. Can you imagine if Georgetown at home can keep it close with UConn?
No, I can't imagine that, no.
I don't think anybody could, but
I mean, I guess anything's possible, but Hurley just seems to have them up for
they're on a mission.
Game.
Oh gosh, they're on a mission. They are elite. I will be stunned. I mean, literally, UConn to make the Final Four should be like minus 200 right now. That's a little much.
A lot can happen, though. You'd have to.
I mean, that's how confident I am. I will be stunned if that team falls en route to the Final Four.
I mean,
I think they're that well rounded.
You got to understand too. The Big East has got UConn, and then everybody else. Like, the rest of the league is solid from 2 through 9, but UConn is so far ahead of everybody else. But that doesn't mean that they're going to have the same kind of success against Tennessee, Kansas, Purdue, whoever they play in the games they play in their region. Alabama could be a 4 seed. That would be a tough. You wouldn't want to see them on your draw. You know what I mean? So I could see something like that happening. But
I'm very, very bullish on them right now. Well, it's hard not to be. They're number 1 team in the country, and they're beating everybody, but pretty badly.
Like they've been healthy. They've had tons of injuries, and I thought they were really going to take a step back this year. But wow, was I wrong? Was I wrong? As I, am very often. All right, we want to thank everybody for joining us. Hey, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe and like button. It really, really helps us out. We will be with you next on Saturday, approximately 1:30, right after the Xavier Creighton game. Remember, it's at 11:30, I believe, is the official tip time. It'll be on, I believe, FS1, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think it's on Fox. I think it's on FS1. So join us then, and thanks so much, and have a good night.
Got these guys active.